Hello Rover fans. This video is the result of me needing to move this car and also it cropping up in the background in a few of my videos about the SD1 diesel. The SD1 diesel is nearing readiness to go off to the body shop. There's probably still a week's worth of work, but in order to get that out, and it does still drive once it's got decent batteries and stuff, but in order to get that out, this needs to move. Putting this here at the time seemed like a fantastic idea, but it hasn't moved under its own steam since I think 2008 or 2014. So I need to coax it back into life, but if I can, then it's mobile, I can shunt it around where I need to. But more of an introduction on the car generally. It is rocking horse poo rare. It's a Series 1 V8-S in Triton Green. It's got a manual gearbox and it's the real deal. Proper V8-S, not a copy, and it's a reasonably early one. So I think there was 12 or 1300 made. The launch colours were Midas Gold, Persian Aqua, Blue and Triton Green. It was a no-cost option to have manual from factory, but the standard spec was for them to be auto, so to have a manual one's pretty cool. Best of all, done a genuine 83,000 miles. Worst of all, it's rotten. It might look pretty good because all four wheel arches are essentially rust free. The tailgate is again basically rust free, and the rear lamp panel, apart from a few bits up here where it's starting to get a bit frilly, it's actually rust free. Why is it like that, I hear you ask? And it's basically because this car was owned by the same guy from 1997 until a few weeks ago when I bought it, and he absolutely loved it. I think his brother bought it as a Part X from a dealer's, and he basically pestered his brother to get the car off him. Then he absolutely loved it, spent loads of money on it. It had a new clutch, it had four wheel arches, new rear lamp panel, new tailgate. I think he told me the last trip he did in it was with his mates to Le Mans in France, and that's why it has the 24-hour Didnt 2008. So that's the last time his car was driven apparently. This is what it should look like. That was, I should say, although I've had this car for a couple of weeks, I've done nothing with it other than put a dehumidifier and fan heater in the boot to try and dry it out a bit. I'm discovering this car as you are seeing it now, and we are, what is it, February 2023. But yeah, that's the launch poster for this car, not this actual one, because I know that that car used in the advertising was an auto, whereas this is a manual. But it was quite an important car at its time, because Rover were trying to expand the market into the US. They wanted to run a car with features on it for the US market, but domestically, so that they would know if there were any teething problems and how to go about fixing them. One of those options, very rare thing for an SD1 at the time, was air conditioning. Previous owner told me that that aircon worked, and that aircon compressor is new. When he says new, I think he means in his ownership rather than being new, because it's quite clearly not, but better than not having one. A lot of the aircon bits on these have been ripped out and thrown away because they sometimes didn't work. Yeah, he told me it did run off a can of petrol, but that must have been a very long time ago, because I can see some easy start over there, and one of the air cleaner U-bends is off, so it's really trying to get it run on that. But what you notice straight away is how original everything in here is. Even the little vacuum cylinder is there, all the relays for the headlamp wash wipe, the wash wipe motor, and more importantly its cover. Those covers are almost always gone. The strut tops look remarkably rust free, and the tops of the wheel wells look good too, so a little bit there. But that's a relief. Scuttle, that's pretty shitty underneath all of this moss. I mean, that gives you an indication of how long this car has been sat. I might throw up a couple of pictures to show where it was. Again, down here we have interesting moss growth, headlight wipers with the blades are long gone, but it has got the plastic cover there, which I'm missing on my one, my gold one that is. Yeah, more comedy mold growth, bits of paint. We've even got a split in the front bumper cover to reveal another nice piece of mold. I'm going to stop this video now and then restart in case my iPhone crashes and loses it all. Back in the room, almost seamless, I hear you call. So why am I saying it's rotten when so far it doesn't look so bad? Well, if you come down here, this outer skin was replaced, but beyond that was not. So we have nice big crusty rusty holes, and more interestingly, don't know whether that's coming across, but basically you can put your hand inside the sill most of the way along. So that's not just one localized bit that's gone, the whole sill is effectively open. So that's not good. That door I don't think opens, this door does, but yeah, that corner's missing. What another positive of this car though is the interior. It's got the ultra rare V8-S fabric. It's a bit faded, and where this car has sat with things on the seat cushions, it's faded. That's the original colour, that is fading, so that's going to require some sorting out. It also has, and I've never seen these and I didn't actually know they existed until I got this car, but look at that foot mat. And if we saunter around here excitedly, very enthusiastic to show this, we have Unipot Rover floor mat. How cool is that? Carpet's good, no tears or splits. We have, oh look at this. As I said, I'm discovering this like you are. I've never opened that glove box before. We have completely pointless and valueless fuel receipts, but let's have a look. 14.94 litres, 20 quid. That's 16th of March 2011, so it must have been on the road at least after that. So maybe it is 2014. I'll do an MOT check later and see if there's any record of the car. Paying in book, don't want to look at that. But yeah. Oh, cool. That's funky. Rover keyring. I haven't been back yet to pick up the history file, but apparently there's a history file for the car as well. Headlining's goosed, manual sunroof. These V8S's never had electric sunroofs. They didn't come out until the Vandam Plus Series 1 cars, or Series 1.5 cars. There's a more realistic colour for what the seat base should look like. It's been sat so long that even this plastic bag, that has just turned to dust. So there is hope for the world. If plastic genuinely turns to dust like that, we might be alright. Cool Unipart original radio. This is the right trim. It's got the gold stripes down here for the V8S. It's got the gear selector H pattern symbol there, not on here or on the gear lever, so that's good. It's just a really super original car, and yeah, condition is not the best, but we can fix that, can't we? Also, it has the original graphic. It looks like someone's tried to peel it off, or part of it's missing, which is a shame. I was going to try and save it, but you can get reproduction ones now. Yeah, this wheel well's good. I did, when I looked at the car, you know, I pretty much knew I wanted it anyway. The rust doesn't really bother me because it just becomes a longer project, but they've all rotted out in much the same places. There's a scary amount of rust on the chassis rail. Don't know whether I will be able to pick it up here. So that's not a particularly difficult repair, but it does mean that this car, I think, in order, it's going to have 2 whole new proper sills. There's a hole through the floor here, just where the heel board goes. Bottom of that B pillar's gone. I remember I took the carpet out this side when I was looking at the car. There is this hole awaiting repair in there. But we know how to fix that, don't we? I think that might even be in my last uploaded video on YouTube. Again, that area's gone. I literally just repaired that on the other car. In fact, let's go and show you. So in the garage we have the diesel, as I affectionately call it. That area I've just fully rebuilt, inside and outside. So, you know, I'm familiar with these cars and I know how to fix them, which is why the rust doesn't bother me as much as other people. Down here, that's that heel board area that I just repaired a couple of days ago. Did a dirty quick patch on this car. On the V8-S, I might do a slightly more involved repair because I'll have it on the rotisserie. And this car, it kind of deserves it just for rarity value. It deserves to have nice, proper resto quality repairs. Other key area on SD1 is the boot. You will notice we have the original V8-S semi-carpeted parcel shelf. In here, the original carpet has just turned to powder. There's literally no fibre strength left in it whatsoever. It's just totally fallen apart. Again, I've not poked at this. That is the usual culprit. Oh, look at that. That's MIG wire. So somebody has tried to snot that up very, very badly. And what we see here is just MIG wire that's come through. So that's the standard of repairs. We might have to do some worrying. But let's have a look. That doesn't look half bad. This is normally all gone. Tie down straps. If you know your SD1s, you know that's usually missing. That is, again, that's not too bad. You can even see where the sunroof drain plug goes through. So when they repaired the or replaced the outer skin, they must have done an okay job of that. So that's good. Nothing too scary in the back here. I can't be bothered to excavate that corner. But what's really nice, and these are probably of no use now, the glue's probably gone off hard, but the car came with some original striped decals. It doesn't actually have them fitted, so he must have bought a whole set after it got resprayed. They've got around to fitting them. So the plan is to see if I can start the thing. I haven't even checked to see if the engine's seized. Probably would have been a good idea before I bought it, but you know. Oh, there's no coolant because there's no water in the radiator because there's no radiator cap. Big hole there in the front slam panel. Never mind. Right, I'm gonna go and get a bar and see if I can turn that over. If I was clever, I would have set up a GoPro on a stand or something so you could actually watch this. But we have movement, and I have to say, considering I've got all the plugs in, that's very easy movement, relatively speaking. So that's good. I'm going to pull the plugs out now, and even though it moves, oh fuck me, that carb's stuck. Yeah, this was just left open. Sorry, I'm getting sidetracked. I'm going to pull the plugs out, squirt a bit of oil down each of the cylinders anyway, even though it's free. It'll just help it, and then I'll work it around a few revolutions by hand. I am approaching this as if it will go, because I'm an optimist, often called many other things, including deluded, a fetishist when it comes to Rover SD1s and all the rest of those good things. It's either got some very thick oil in that dash pot, or that needs stripping and cleaning. But anyway, what's the choke want to do? Right. Choke moves. Both butterflies and the relay move, which is good. And they return, which is good. As evidenced by the squeezy on the side of the can, I think he must have run out at easy start, which probably means that he was unsuccessful in getting the thing running. Let's go and have a look at engine oil, shall we? That's been tampered with. That is the fuel filter holder. So the fuel line, plastic fuel line, comes up from the fuel tank. Little weak pump in the back and pushes fuel through there into the carbs. So that's probably goosed. Doesn't matter. We'll pull that off and run it off a jerry can anyway. How cute is that? It's even got the original numbered HT leads. I can't remember on Series 1s. On Series 2s they were usually orange. Oh, well, that's not good. That would appear to say absolutely 0. That can't be right. Oh yeah, incredibly low. Yeah, do not overfill. But you could at least put some oil in there. Right, so I'm going to have to find some oil anyway. I think what I'm going to do, take the air boxes off, take all the breathers and cleaners off, pull the cam covers off as well, take the spark plugs out, put oil down, put oil over the rockers, turn it over a bit more, and then I shall report back. If this was a proper YouTube channel, this is where you would get like some cheesy music and a montage of me doing that. Sorry to disappoint you. Before I remove this, I just want to show you that clip. I have never seen that before, and it's a very good idea, because what typically happens is if you lift the bonnet, particularly on Series 2 cars which have an insulation pad here, that pipe always rubs and makes a hole in the insulation. Never seen that clip. They must have put it on the early cars and then removed it, but it shows you how unmolested this thing is. These trunkings are original. That is, you know, rocking horse poo to find original undamaged ones. Yeah, that bodes well really, doesn't it? More of an indication of just how little this car has been tampered with. And those are the original little rubber seats that hold the front of this air diverter. It's quite a clever system, very simple. That side takes cold air straight from the front of the car. This side would have taken warm air from the exhaust manifold. There's a heat exchanger here, just air to air. In there is a really long bimetallic strip with little foam cover, and basically when the engine is cold, the bimetallic strip bends that way and closes off the cold air feed and just lets warm air go through, which helps with cold starts and stuff and efficiency. Then when it warms up, it goes back to sucking in cold air for power, which is quite clever. Neat little bit of simplistic old school engineering, incredibly robust, can't go wrong. And I don't know, it's quite satisfying to see. Get that badger out the way. What have we got? We have got animal nesting materials. That's a conker. Fuzzy fluffy stuff, not an animal. That can go away. This all looks lovely. Cool. It's even got its little plastic brackety things that haven't snapped off. That's for the distributor advance. That hasn't broken. It's still connected. So I might do a little bit of a clean up before I take this rocker cover off, just because if it is nice in there, I don't want to make it grubby. Just cleaning off the worst of this muck before it drops in there. But these are the original Series 1 painted alloy cam or rocker covers, rockers really, and it's just all corroded and delaminated and coming off in little strips. So it is old, done a fair few heat cycles, and then it is just given up and fallen off. I think we can forgive it that. Again, I should really be doing these things live, but I'm not set up for it. When I say live, I mean videoing me taking it off, and you can all look at my face as I either gasp in horror, laugh with joy, or just go meh. That's kind of what it looks like, which is kind of what I'm at now. There's nothing really horribly scary in there. That just looks like very old fairly clean running engine. It's certainly not filled with gunk. When these are really bad and breathing heavily, done loads of miles, these whole areas at the bottom where the oil can't easily drain back, they just fill up with shite. So can you see there's no drain back point between those two valves, and yet it's not full of shit. There's a bit of crud in there, but no, not bad at all. We could, if we could be bothered, undo all the pedestals, slide these out the way and look at the wear on the rocker gear, but I can't be bothered, so I won't be doing it. Right, next one off. This one is a bit easier to access, so I probably can do it live. It's always difficult getting them out. On this side you've got the accelerator cable, and then that hose which goes from the inlet up to the brake servo to give vacuum. So it'll need to be routed out past those. I'm trying desperately hard to do this one-handed without losing that spring washer and the original washer. As far as can be, this car, I want everything original. There's a powder coaters and blasters near me, and there's somebody who does blasting and then chemical plating. So this car kind of deserves it. The original plan for this car didn't really exist. It's just that somebody knows me through a web forum, and he went to go and collect some bits for his car, and he likes Rovers, and the guy said, oh, I've got this shitty old Rover around the back, it belongs to someone else, but are you interested in it? And he goes, no. And but he knows somebody who might be, that being me. So he messaged me, and I rang the guy up, went and had a look and did a deal. And so far, I mean, it wasn't cheap because he knew what it was and he loved it. But at the end of the day, projects that are going to take as long as this one does, what you pay for them in the start just falls into the noise of what you're going to blow doing it up. So this is probably going to cost me 15 grand to fix up, maybe a bit less, depending on what else I find. These are on the cork gaskets, not the rubber ones, so it can be trickier to get off. Yeah, much the same again. So you've got a little bit of poop around the head bolt, but nothing scary whatsoever. So I'm going to go find some engine oil, drown all the top of the rocker gear in it. I might go and try and put some coolant in there, just see if it falls out on the floor. If it does, I won't put any more in because that'll just be a waste. And then I will remove the old battery. I mean, you can tell the guy just locked it up and walked away because he didn't even disconnect the battery. So that's for the bin, I'm sure. I'll go and find another good one and see if we can get it to turn over from the key. Probably won't, because I wouldn't mind betting that the start relay in there is goosed. They usually are, but we'll work around these problems as and when we get them. Yeah, as I say, I might be waffling a lot, but this is literally me looking at all of this for the very first time. I haven't even washed this car. So yeah, it's all new to me too. One thing I forgot to look at, and I've just clocked it as I walked around the front of the car, is the underside of the rocker cover. So that is like a baffle. It helps oil that's getting flicked up by the rocker gear land on the underside of there and then roll back in. It's like a windage tray, but underneath the cam cover. On the top there you've got the flame trap breather, which is basically looks like corrugated screwed up wire wool washed in a can. You can't really see it, but that's all it does. And vapors from the crankcase get recirculated through there and back into the inlet. So if this engine was worn out, that would be completely coked up with poop and not very nice. The Y piece didn't survive, they never do, but that's the bit that would have been taking those vapors from the cam cover and routing them into the inlet. That's whistle clean. So that is another sign that this engine was in really rather good health before it came off the road. And that makes sense, because why would you drive it to France if it wasn't in good nick? So what am I doing? Oh yeah, I went and found some oil. I couldn't find any terrible crap oil, but I have found some half decent Shell Helix. Not the right oil for this engine, but we don't really care, do we? Just want nice clean oil. And just gonna drizzle it over various bits and pieces that I can get access to. I don't really care too much about oil level per se. It'd be nice to have it a little bit overfill and get it pumped up, but it'll just have to do. I'm not actually planning on taking the carburetors out either at the moment. I'm gonna hope that they're just about working. I have made one more discovery. While I was poking around inside the car, I pressed the clutch pedal. There is no clutch whatsoever. On this car it's a hydraulic, so we will have to investigate that. Hopefully it's the hydraulic issues and not inside the box. Oops. That's probably more maintenance this car has had in the last half an hour than in the last 10 years. I'll let that do its thing. This is the clutch master cylinder. Let's see what's in there. Yep, no, nothing. So we can try and put some fluid in, see what happens. Well, I wouldn't mind betting it just goes on the floor. So that might have to wait for another day. Next thing, well, that's dribbling down into the sump. Pull that battery out, find another one. It might not look it, but it is starting to get dark now. The iPhone is very good at compensating for the low light conditions. My efforts to remove the battery have been rewarded with less rust than I thought there might be, which is good. We do have a hole through the front panel there, but that's not the end of the world because it's gone there, so I envisage having to change the whole front panel anyway. Slight fly in the ointment is I'm not sure if I've got any good batteries. Neil, my mate, did give me one, but it ain't that size, so I might have to go and find some jumper cables and plonk them on there, see what happens. I was wrong, I do have a battery. It's got the poles round the wrong way, so this is gonna still be jury rigged, so it may not have enough current to actually turn the starter, even if the starter does work. But that is that. If I left anything in the way, no. Well, you're going to find out what happens, because I have no idea. I suspect absolutely diddly squat will happen because all the relays will be furred up and rusted. No, that's not the right key. I'm sure that's the right key. Try this badger. Yeah. Oh, no. That was interesting. I think we've got some funny electrics going on. Wow, it turns over. So the starter relay works, which is good news. Very, very slow. But that is probably a result of loads of shitty earth, a slightly suspect battery, and running off jumper cables, which just don't allow a lot of current. Yeah, right, pull the plugs out and shoot a bit of oil down them. This is spark plug number, what would that be? Number 2. So farthest forward on the offside bank. Can't really tell a lot from these because it's just been sat there all that time. So condensation will have formed in the bores. It's not any abnormal pitting damage or anything, but it's not like this was a running engine, so I'm never going to be able to tell a lot. Champion! They're alright. Prefer NGKs, but never mind. It's not why I bought the car. All the plugs are out, but this one, which is number 7. So the rearmost on the left bank. It's got, well, basically chuffing hard to undo. It's a bit of rust there. I was half expecting to pull this out and find bits of aluminium stuck in the thread. I think the thread might be okay, but it's certainly suspect. The others all came out okay. No dramas, no missing electrodes. A couple are really sooty, but you know, if this thing had just been started up on a jerry can or easy start, it's not going to be running the best. And it's such a long time ago that it needs naffle. this engine ultimately, the whole car is going to go to a bare shell. That'll be stripped and rebuilt. So I'm doing this just for shits and giggles and logistical purposes of being able to drive it round up and down my drive. I'm going to put some oil in the bores, fire it over again, see if it spins up a bit easier. I did also notice that my jump leads are dreadfully crap. More actually catching fire and melting, so that probably didn't help. It's really getting dark now. I just tried to take a photo and the camera tried to put the flash on. But yeah, I've got my big squirty thing and a beer belly, so I can put a bit of oil in there. I should do that with the others and then spin it over again. Right, battery coupled up again. I thought I just weird. My brain is playing tricks on me. I thought I heard something funny going on. Which you'll watch with hilarity as oil probably falls all over the place. No, it won't, because the batteries must be very depleted, or we've got some dodgy earths. You can hear the fuel pump isn't firing, but that's not surprising. It's wired into the oil pressure switch, so if there's no oil pressure the pump won't be running. It does sound freer. The revs are picking up. I mean, really I should have dismantled the starter motor, cleaned up all the earths, blah 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 blah. Can't be bothered. It is turning over incredibly slowly. But, you know, it's nice that the starter wanted to work. God knows how long this video is now, but all part of the process, isn't it? Right, I'm going to leave that there for today, and then I shall come back maybe this weekend, and with a better battery, I'll take the start relay out, I'll clean off the engine to starter, the earth strips, and on this, the will I do the ignition? No, I won't do the ignition, I'll just do the relay. And then, in fact, should we check for a spark now? Should we be super ambitious? Let's do that. Where is HT number 1? That would help, wouldn't it, if I plugged that back on? That's that one. I think. Oh no, right, hold on, this will take some jiggery pokery. I have gone from the HT on the top of the coil output, which was to the dizzy cap. Now it goes to one of the spark plugs. Oh shit, that'd be a battery. Now it just goes to one of the plugs that I've wedged between the inlet and that bolt thing. Now, oh damn it, I need my go-go gadget arms. In fact, this will be one of those weird bits where you can see and I can't. Hold on. Would you believe it? That's unreal. So the ignition works. That's crazy. Wow, did not expect that. Yeah, very happy. Well, that bodes well for the weekend then. Gonna disconnect that before I catch fire on something. And you can hear, or I can hear, little gulps. Probably as oil is going down, or coolant, the remains of coolant is going around. I did go and look for some coolant, but can't find any, so we'll just have to wait till the weekend. Okay, well that was first ever play with the Triton Green V8-S manual. This car hasn't got a name yet. Can you make anything out of that? Not sure I can. Bye. Super minor update on the car. It is the day after I did that last video, or sections of video. I don't know whether you're watching that now, having momentarily, I don't know what I'm banging on about. Basically, it's the day after the last bit of video I filmed. I've done nothing other than find some brake fluid. So I'm going to pull that in there and leave it and see whether it disappears into the cabin, disappears under the car, or what happens. If you're lucky, you can leave the pedal pressed down on these and they'll self-bleed. But in fact, let's everybody look at that. We'll go and press the pedal and see what happens. Oh, incidentally, I also noticed in my last video that there was actual visible smoke coming out from that feels like nothing is happening whatsoever. Yeah, actual visible smoke coming off the jumper plugs. I've found another battery and I've put that on charge. I think, I don't know, either my foot's getting tired or there's some resistance there. Oh, something's going on. Let's go and have a look at the level. Boopity boopity boop. Nothing has happened. Oh well, maybe it's completely cruddy up. Where does that pipe go? That one goes down there. It should run along there. Oh, right, here we go. That is either... oh no, it's not a hole in the pipe. I think that might be where I just dribbled oil. Tasty. Yeah, that tastes like finest shell helix rather than brake fluid. Yeah, that's engine oil. I can't see a puddle on the floor down there, so I'm going to leave that. Maybe you'll come out and poke the pedal periodically. I might wedge it down and just jiggle it and see if we get any sort of clutch. Well, I really shouldn't be doing this. I should be doing some work, but I did jack the car up, cracked off the clutch slave nipple, gave it a few squirts, and the pedal dropped and fluid dropped. So I've nipped it back up, pumped the pedal rapidly a few times, and we'll just leave it and see if it will self-bleed, just bubbles coming up overnight or something. Again, I hear you screaming, why don't we have a proper YouTube channel for this super cool car? Well, you don't. You're just gonna have to live with me. What have I done? I pumped that some more. I'm by myself and I don't have a glamorous assistant, so literally I'll show you why it was I was able to do this. I'm still in my pyjama bottoms and Crocs. I shouldn't be doing car stuff up there. You might have to rewind and pause that, but basically the slave cylinder is on the side of the block and bell housing with the bleed nipple the top side. So I was able to pump the pedal rapidly, get under there, crack it open, then come back and press the pedal to the floor repeatedly, just shoot fluid out on the floor, nipped it up, and we've actually got a clutch. Hasn't even been left over the night, it's just working. That was missing when I got the car, so I presumed that the whole thing had lost all of its coolant. Doesn't appear to have done so. I just started pouring water in there and the level was not far off, so I've put that back on. I'll go and find a bung because I know somewhere I've got some scrap radiators. As I say, I'm not trying to bleed all of the water out of it. It's just to put some coolant in the jacket to stop sort of thermal shock or nasty expansion stuff going on, and help dissipate heat in a controlled way so I don't crack a liner or something. So I'm still waiting for my battery to charge up, but once that's arrived I will clean up the plugs, put the plugs back in. Actually no, I'll turn it over some more with the old battery, sorry, the new battery, free off the engine a bit more. I am thinking about whether or not I should go and get my remote oil pressure gauge, and then I can plug that in to see if I've got oil pressure. I haven't actually screwed the cam covers on, they're just balanced there, so I can crank it and just look for oil coming out of the rockers, because I doubt very much if the oil pressure gauge works. I don't think any of the instruments are working. In fact, I suppose I could check that now, couldn't I? Hooked up the battery again. Just want to see. Oh, see, low oil level light. Here, we know that, thanks. Battery voltage appears to work. I know from past fanning around that this array all works off the same positive feed. So if that's working, then these should also be giving readings. Let's just turn it over again. Smoky, smoky, smoke, smoke. Not registering oil pressure, but I don't expect to. What I might do then is just, once I've got the good battery, I'll try and crank it and watch the rockers and see if I get any oil pushed out up the top here. That'll be my only real way of checking what oil pressure is. The danger is I'm cranking and cranking and it hasn't primed, or the oil pump has lost its prime. And if it's done that, then I'll have to take the distributor out, buzz it over with a drill, pump it back up again, because I don't want to have to take the oil pump apart. More mumbling. Right, I think we're getting oil pressure. Watch these little drillings between that pedestal. Basically, oil is driven by the pump, which is down there by the oil filter housing. That's actually driven off the camshaft, which drives the distributor, and the end of the distributor turns the oil pump. The oil pump pushes oil through various drillings up through the block into the cylinder heads through pedestals, and then the pedestals distribute the oil through the rocker and to the rocker arms, and you should see oil coming out in those gaps there between the pedestals and the rockers. And basically I was cranking, I had to stop because this was all about to catch fire, hence lots of smoke, but I'm pretty sure that oil was coming out of these, and it wasn't oil that I poured on the other day, it was actually oil being delivered. If that's the case, then that saves me a tremendous amount of faffing about. So let's try it again. You can watch for smoke and fire. I don't want to cook the jump leads too much, and more importantly I don't want to cook, see, that looks different. There's definitely oil coming out of there. That's not running back. That wasn't like that previously. So I think we have got oil pressure. It would be nice to confirm it from the cabin, but we don't always get nice things, do we, ladies and gentlemen? No. Sometimes it's all a bit crap. Speaking of crap, when I was jacking the car up, I did find a lot of rust. This is seriously rotten, this one. Oh, didn't want to do that. Right, yeah, we're definitely getting oil pressure, because that definitely wasn't there before. That's all oil that's being pushed up. Same as here. Let's have another go. Just done a bit more cranking. It's not throwing crap loads of oil out, but they don't really need to, and they don't do that. You can run these without the cam covers on, and they don't exactly spray your garage. There's definitely oil coming out of these. So we do have oil pressure, which is excellent news. So in theory, if I gave it a fuel supply, put the cam covers back into position, in fact there's not even any point doing that, put the plugs in, clean the plugs off, refit the HT leads, put some fuel in there to fill the bowls up, theoretically it might even go. What I really should do, but can't be bothered to do, is take the carburetors apart and clean off all the gunge. That one looks like somebody's been in there because that thread is disturbed. That wasn't me. Hopefully that doesn't mean that they've been had at. Right, I've got to go inside and do some actual proper work now, so I'll have to come back and play with this in a bit. It's kind of towards the end of the day, and it's a Friday, so I've slacked off work to come and clean up some spark plugs. I am just using a wire brush on a drill, trying not to catch the electrodes. I'll do that with something softer, like a little brass brush, if I've got one in there. But yeah, clean the threads off, put some copper slip on them, spray the ends of them with some brake cleaner, whack them back in the engine, ready for test fire. You get the idea. Plugs are back in. I copper slipped the hell out of them and did them up. I've refitted the HT leads, and then I got the fuel filter and refitted it to the car. found a piece of fuel hose, and that fits really nicely on there. And then I have a jerry can of super unleaded, bizarrely. So I'm now going to try and siphon this into the carbs and try and start them filling up. That worked quite well. I didn't even have to stick my lips around that pipe and taste the fuel. Fuel is going in, but it is coming straight out of the bottom cover or the overflow. So something is going wrong there. That's not me spilling fuel. That's continuing to dribble out of somewhere. Not sure where. It's possible the float has stuck down or up. Either way, it's not very happy, and without taking the carb off, I'm not sure I can fix that. So annoyingly, I might have to pull the carburetors anyway. Now, if I was very lazy, I'd just go and get a hose pipe and not worry about that too much and just wait for it to catch fire, then put it out with a hose pipe. So decisions. Kind of tempted just to go for it. You all knew what was coming, didn't you? I am just going to fire it and see what happens. That is still the same battery that I've been cranking on, so it may not go, but if I pray to the Rover gods, you never know what might happen. A bit of choke. Oh, really, I don't want to pull that too hard. Let's just fire it and see what happens. Ah, damn it. I'm completely depleted. Yeah, there's so much compression now with the oil and those new spark plugs. It just doesn't have enough beans to throw it over. So, patience. That's really leaking now. Still can't quite tell where that's coming from. I think it is the lower cover. Nope. Just gone and got the other battery that was on charge. This is a really shit battery, but at least I can plug it to the terminals and not be pulling through those leads. When it was on charge, it wasn't even showing any voltage, so this is well ahead of the game, but I thought I'd try it anyway. That nearly went. We have life. Come on, little V8, you know you want to go. We have an engine that wants to run. The idea that this was running not that long ago surprises me, because normally they just burst into life if the timing's right. Come on. A bit like that. I had the choke right out, which I don't think it needs. I think it's overfueling maybe. Let's close him off a little bit. Hasn't caught fire yet, which is another positive. We do like fire, but just not all the time. That's come on, little car, you want to be saved. That's nice. Got a horrendous misfire. That could be just because one carb isn't filling up, because I don't think the one on the right is. We might only be on 4 cylinders. And we might have just exhausted our fuel supply. think it's just running on one bank. Definitely getting oil, so we got oil pressure, because it wouldn't be doing that otherwise. You can see all the push rods are rotating as well, which is good, because it means that the cams, the followers are acting on the cam properly, and they're making the push rods rotate, which is good. If it was a really knackered cam, it probably wouldn't be doing that, they just would go up and down. Just wants to choke out the time. Come on, oh yeah. Right, so more tinkering to do, but we do have a semi-alive car. I might stop this video now because essentially proof of concept works. The car is alive, it just needs more TLC to make it more alive, and that will involve pulling the carburetors off, cleaning those out. The accelerator cable linkage and the choke linkage are quite frankly terrible. I'm going to charge up that battery because if you want to solve a misfire you need to know you've got a healthy ignition, so we'll sort that. But as a first introduction to this car, that's all rather good news, isn't it? Cool. Right, see you another time. Bye bye.